Fasten your seatbelts. It's going to be a bumpy night. Can we be vulnerable at the gig? Hello, Champagne Dreamers. Welcome back to my channel. Or if you're new here, welcome. I don't know how you got here, but I hope you'll stick around and subscribe. My name is Jaye Champagne, and I am North Dakota's trash queen of glam, geek, and gore. And for today's video, I'm going to make the video that I always hate when other people make it. So you can call me a hypocrite, that's fine. I just wanted to do a little life update and just talk about some changes that are happening in my life that are impacting my channel, they're impacting my website. It's a lot, it's a whole thing. We're just going to talk about it. And I always say that I hate when YouTubers come on and they don't make videos for a while, and then they make a video about why they're not making videos. And I'm like, just come back when you're ready to make videos. I'm sort of like that, but we're just going to talk a little bit about what's going on, give you a little life update, let you know what's happening, and just being a little bit real, a little bit vulnerable at the gig. So I hope that's okay. I hope you enjoy. If not, go ahead and skip ahead. There's plenty of dick jokes and burps elsewhere. You can check out our bloopers supercut for plenty of those. So if you're ready to have some hashtag real talk, then stick around because we're getting into it right now. All right, so I don't know what the Chinese zodiac calendar would say, but for me, 2022 was just the year of the catastrophe. It's just been a whole lot. It's been a little bit crazy. It's just been a wild, wild year. And so you've probably noticed that there's been times throughout the last several months that my upload schedule has been a little bit sketchy, has been a little bit erratic, and that's always been true. I've never fully committed to this many videos a week. I love that I've been able to have a little bit of consistency with uploading the vintage podcast episodes, but I've always just been a whenever I can get it in, because this is my hobby. This is just something that I do for fun. I do it for the love of glam, geek, and gore. I just do it for a fun time. This is not my regular job. And so this is just something I do when I can. I try to be as consistent as possible because I do really want to build an audience and I want to build this channel up into, whatever it can be. But I'm not in a place where I can really just commit to I'm going to have this many videos a week. I try to have one a week. If I can have more than one a week, I love it. I don't really want to commit to specific days because when I get a video edited, I'm so excited to share it that it's hard for me to schedule it in advance. I always am getting it uploaded into YouTube and then I try to schedule it, but then sometimes I'm like, I just want people to see it now. So I'm really kind of sketchy about that. But this year has really been a difficult year. So there's been a lot of stresses on top of just trying to find spare time outside of my full-time job. So my full-time job, I don't talk a lot about it because my sort of Janessa persona is different than my everyday persona. I don't like to talk too much about my work and whatever, but I do video editing. So I moved on to a new team. It's coming up on 2 years ago. And so when I first started my YouTube channel, I was actually doing a different job. I had started to do some coding and I was building training websites and things like that. And so during the pandemic, I decided that I was going to start this YouTube channel. And so this was kind of my hobby. It was my tension release, all that kind of stuff. And I was on a team that I loved, but I wasn't doing anything video related. Skip ahead a little bit, and then I joined a video team. I really enjoyed what I was doing with YouTube, and there was an opportunity for me to join a video team where I could work with training materials and things like that. And I do love it, and I have a great team. I still love it, but it means that now, in addition to editing videos in my hobby time, I'm also editing videos at work. And so that changes my relationship to how I feel about video editing. And, when I get done with an 8-hour day of editing and editing and editing, do I want to do more editing? That's it's been something that's really come up for me about how I structure my free time and how do I work that in so that it doesn't become too much. Well, then during this last year, I also took on kind of a large project that was a really great professional challenge, but it was also really challenging in ways that I didn't expect. So it was something where I was working with other languages that I don't speak. And so it was really stressful. I am one of those people. I'm a Capricorn. I'm a control freak. I like to do things that I kind of already know I'm going to be good at. You know what I mean? Like, I love a challenge, but I like the challenge to be somewhat in my wheelhouse. So this was something that had a lot of things that were really outside of my experience, and I don't do well with languages. I've taken a little bit of French, I've taken a little bit of German. I was never really great at either one. And now I'm working with Japanese and Chinese, so it's not even the same kind of, Romanized alphabet that I'm used to. It's character alphabets and things like that. So that got really stressful, and I was just feeling really kind of overwhelmed. And then, as we know, in 2022, Nazis decided that drag queens should get death threats for doing brunch. So last year, during Pride, this is when there was a group called Protect North Dakota Kids that popped up. And it's something that it's really hard to say, but it's one of those things that looks like it's funded by white nationalist groups nationally. There was Protect Texas Kids, Protect Nebraska Kids. There were a bunch of these groups that were very cut and paste that popped up all over the country. And they were really about attacking drag shows and drag queens and kings and performers, and really going in especially about all ages shows. They're really concerned with making sure that children don't understand that queer people exist. So this group, Protect North Dakota Kids, decided to start doxing drag performers that were going to be involved in this all-ages show during Bismarck Pride. And I was the first one to get doxxed. I mean, go me first. Hashtag first. With my post and with the queen that came after me, they were clearly trying to stay on the right side of legality. But with my post and the other queen's post, they didn't really. Mine included my email address, and the other one, the other queen that got doxxed, her pictures included a name badge for where she worked. And there was actually an incident at her workplace that may or may not have been tied to that doxing incident. So everybody else that they doxed, they scrubbed all the information. And in fact, they love to argue with people online and say that what they're doing doesn't constitute doxing. And it absolutely does. Now, in terms of the legality of it, in terms of the enforcement of it, it's in kind of a gray area. And living in a place like fucking North Dakota, trying to find somebody who's going to pursue it and trying to find a judge who would be friendly to that sort of thing. Obviously, I was not going to spend my money on that sort of legal challenge because I know what kind of shit people are in North Dakota in terms of the judicial system, ACAB. I'm just done with the whole system. So I was not going to pursue this, but it does absolutely count as doxing. And so my information was put out for people to then come and harass me. That's the point. Any of these things, whatever they say it's about, whatever they present it as being, that kind of post is always to get people excited and drummed up and enraged and make things happen. And so we had death threats that poured in to the brunch show that we were having as part of Bismarck Pride. And this was really the first show that got targeted by this group. So we didn't know what to expect because the venue started getting calls and there were death threats. The person who organized the brunch got calls and death threats and all of these different kinds of things. Performers got messages and harassment and all this kind of stuff. All of us absolutely buckled in and we were like, we're going to show up. Nobody's canceling. We're doing this. And the venue was behind us. And so we were like, bring it, bitch. Like, we're going to be ready for you. So we came in, there was a lot of extra security, and it actually looked a little bit sad for them because at the brunch there were 4 people who showed up to protest, parked out on the curb because they couldn't even be on the hotel's private properties. They had to be either on the city sidewalk or out on the curb. And then at the Capitol, so we also had an all-ages show on the steps of the North Dakota Capitol, which, by the way, the year before, in 2021, I was the first person to ever perform in drag on the steps of the North Dakota Capitol. Thank you. That's a first I actually enjoy. And so we had a show on the Capitol, and like 9 people showed up to protest that. And they got kind of escorted to the edges very quickly. But they were going through the crowd and like taking pictures of people and taking pictures of people's children. For people who are claiming to want to protect North Dakota's kids, they were doing some pretty sketchy things, some pretty questionable things. And that group has never had any transparency about who owns it, who runs it, or who funds it. Into the whole doxing situation, they waited until after the Bismarck Pride events were over, and then they finally announced an executive director, this guy named Keith Happip Jr. Happip-a-dip-dop-shubop-a-dooby-doo. We go together. He is the executive director. He was pretty clearly involved from the very beginning, but they would never admit it. There was also a woman named Michelle who was very clearly involved, and there are some people who are working on trying to subpoena the records from Facebook in terms of who is involved and when and all of these sorts of things. But so he's the only person who's been confirmed. This Michelle, even if she's not involved, she was a frequent commenter and reposter, and then she disappeared because there was some heat put on her at her job because she works with like at-risk youth, which is not appropriate for someone who's posting this kind of shit on the internet. She kind of disappeared, and now she's back again or whatever. And I've kind of stepped away. For a while, they were absolutely monitoring my social media. I was monitoring their social media. It was a lot. It was just a lot. And so this year, Pride was really kind of a stressful time because we didn't know what was happening. And if you think about the nightclub shooting that happened in Colorado, we had no reason to believe that that wasn't a possibility for what we were doing in Bismarck. I mean, North Dakota is a big old red state with a lot of hunters who have a lot of guns just sitting around their house. Freedom, America, all that kind of shit. So we like all showed up and we were like, well, I guess if this is it, we're just going to bring our best outfits. So it'll be great. And so we really just kind of went into it, but it was very stressful and it really affected how I think about drag and performance, and it's something that I've been kind of in the process of reevaluating ever since the pandemic. I've been sort of cocooning a little bit, and I've only been doing I've done a couple other shows, but mostly I've just been doing Bismarck because that's where I'm the show director. And so I've really been kind of pulling back and trying to figure out, like, what do I want this next phase of my drag career to be? So I've been in this kind of chrysalis moment where this hobby that I've been doing for over 21 years, I'm trying to figure out how I want it to look as I go into the future. There's been all of this extra like stress around the threats against drag queens, the threats against trans people. There are so many more bills and pieces of legislation all around the country. North Dakota has had a bunch of them. A lot of states have had a bunch of them where they're trying to outlaw drag and outlaw drag brunches and all these kinds of things. And it really goes back to some really like weird dark times in our history. Like, I mean, Republicans really just, and yes, I did say Republicans. That's one of my favorite new words, along with conservatives. So it's a good thing I'm not monetized because we'd be getting that pulled right now. That's one thing that they're really after, is really about trying to make queer and trans people disappear. And it's really scary what's going on in our country right now. I mean, it really looks like, if we look at history, the early stages of fascism. So this is something that has been weighing on my mind and has been pressure, along with work pressure, along with personal pressure, all of these different kinds of things. So in addition to all of these things and the way I feel about drag and how I fit into the whole like drag community and drag space, because let's get real, I am an aging queen. I sometimes joke about the fact that I've kind of become the ceremonial queen, that once a year they like take me out of the cupboard for Pride and dust me off and I say some inspiring things and then I go back in the cupboard. And it's not entirely accurate, but it's also not entirely inaccurate. I have definitely been slowing down my performance schedule and things, and I've just been trying to figure out how I want drag to fit into my life and how I schedule my time. And I absolutely am still committed to it, and as all of these new attacks on drag performers and trans people are coming up, it makes me that much more committed to be out there and to be loud and to be sassy and in people's faces, because clearly I don't fucking care what those people think of me. And knowing that me just existing in a public place in all this fabulosity, like, boils their blood, that's enough for me. That's enough for me to, like, sign on to do it. I'm here for it. So I'm trying to figure all this stuff out. Well, then, in January, I turned 45. And I know.
You're telling people your age?
I know, my real age. And yet somehow I look like a fresh-faced girl of 22. It's because all the wrinkles that I would have are currently filled with Taco Bell. So I don't know what it is about turning 45 that, like, triggered something in me. I'm such a stereotype sometimes. Like, I had a little bit of the stereotypical midlife crisis when I turned 40. That's a story for a whole other time. It involves a tattoo and a porn star and crying on the streets of downtown Seattle. It's a lot. But I really kind of had this moment. I was having just this, like, anxiety, this kind of stress leading up to my birthday. I don't know what it is. It's just me being dramatic. There's probably a therapist or a pill out there that would help me sort it through either way. But just a lot of this kind of sitting with me. And then the day after my birthday, on January 18th at 9 p.m., I get an email from the management company for where my filming office is. So this room right here, this is an office where I do my day job and I also do my YouTube filming. And I got a notice that they were doing renovations and that I had 30 days to vacate. The irony of this email is that it said, as discussed, we're working on these renovations and now it's coming up and we need you to vacate. This was never discussed. This management company has been real sketchy. So a couple years ago, the people that were managing it before passed it off to this new place called Grimsley Consulting. Yes, I'm going to say their name. If they wanted me to talk better about them, they should have behaved better. And so this is my perspective on the situation. If you want to know their side, fucking go ask them. I don't care. So the email says, as discussed. Now, for the last year, my office has been in chaos because they've been replacing all of the windows in the building. And if you follow me on Facebook and if you've ever watched any of my lives, there were quite a few lives where I was here in this office and I didn't have a window. I just had plywood in the window space. There's a big, like, plate glass window. They had taken it out, but they didn't have the glass to put it in. So they just put in plywood. And then, like, the traffic noise is always a little bit sketchy in here, but it was real rough. And there was no communication about when they were coming. I found out that they were coming in to take the window out the day before it happened. And then I haven't given an office tour, and now obviously we never will, but we'll have to do a tour of my new office. But they said everything had to be 10 feet away from the window. There's not enough room. This room is only like 12 by 12. There's no way for everything to be 10 feet away from the window. So I moved things as best I could out of the way. And then they were in there and I had to move to another office. My friend Amy had a spot. And so I moved into hers for the day. And then a guy came down that day when I was working and is like, oh, are you in here now? And I was like, well, yeah, because you're in my office. And he's like, oh, well, we're going to have to take this window out on Monday. So Thursday night I had gotten the message, moved everything around. Friday I was in there, and then Friday he comes and says, we're going to be here Monday. So I had to move everything back and have the plywood, and it was a whole thing. And I have a lot of computer equipment. So, like, for my job, I have a laptop that's got 2 monitors, and I've got lights, and it's a whole thing. So I had to, like, move back and forth, and there was all this stuff. The only communication I've had is that there were going to be blinds installed on the new window. So my windowsill never got framed out. All the other ones did. I don't know if because mine, since I was working in here, they never finished framing the windowsill. And then the only reason I knew blinds were coming is because I was working one day and some random woman just knocked on the door and was like, can I measure your window for blinds? And I was like, I guess so. And so she just came in and measured the window. I was like, how long do you think it'll be? She's like, well, I say 3 to 4 weeks, but it's probably going to be longer. I was like, great. It was months and we never got the blinds. That's all I ever heard from them. The only reason I knew about the blinds is because the woman stopped in. I got the notice one day before that they were going to take the window out. And then they said, as discussed, we're going to start doing renovation on the first floor, so you need to be out in 30 days. So this kicked off this whole new anxiety of having to find a new office space. Now, I have found a space and I'm working out the details and getting ready to sign papers, and I have to call my internet provider so that I can get the internet switched, and I've started to pack up. So like there's makeup everywhere, but there's less makeup around than there used to be. We're starting to pack up. It's going to be a whole lot. I'm probably going to have to hire movers. And so I just had all this stress of I have to like pay for all of this stuff that I wasn't expecting. I wasn't anticipating for. So I like to buy a lot of makeup. I have been purchasing makeup with the expectation that I wasn't going to have to pay for a move. So all of a sudden this came up. And also I'm leaving tomorrow morning. When we're filming this, it's going to be tomorrow morning. I'm leaving for a photo shoot. Now, I had planned this when I wasn't saving up for a move, when I wasn't having to do all this stuff. Like I took some of my bonus money that I got and I had planned a photo shoot, and then she added on this extra package, so I bought that extra package. So then I had this extra anxiety of, well, now I'm going to have to drive down to the cities and spend all this money potentially on a hotel so that I can be there for the photo shoot. And I was like, well, I don't know if I feel like I can afford that. But I had already prepaid for both of the photo shoots, so I was like, I can't afford not to go. And so luckily some things changed with that photo shoot where I was able to condense it all to one location and just do both shoots at that location. If you follow JanessaJ.com, you'll see the photo galleries when they go up, and it'll make sense because I'm going to Grandpa's Pool House, which has more than enough beautiful setups for 2 photo shoots. I have lots of outfits, but I only have to go to one place. I don't have to go to the Twin Cities. I can just go to this little vacation house, and I can all of that kind of stuff. So it's much cheaper, so that worked out much better. Just all of this extra stress. And so on top of that, trying to edit videos just hasn't happened. Like, it's just been a lot. So I wanted to let you know that things have been a little bit strange. They've been a little bit weird. I did put out a video that's now kind of my channel commercial where I talked about what's coming in 2023. I'm absolutely still committed to that. Once I get settled into the new office, I really do want to try to commit to 1 to 2 videos a week. I want to make sure that I get onto a regular editing cadence, and I'm hoping that I've talked about this before. I'm hoping with my next bonus that I'll be able to get a different camera so that it's easier for me to film by myself. So if I'm able to do that, where I can hook it up and have a monitor, or even if I have a viewfinder that'll turn around so that I can see it, it'll make it easier for me to be able to like really quick throw on a face, film by myself. I complained about everybody doing live streams during the pandemic, but I might try to do some lives and things. If I don't think I'm going to get a video edited, I might be able to sneak in a live stream or something. It's kind of tough when you're this small to do a live stream because you don't know if anybody's going to show up, and then it's just you awkwardly like talking to the camera by yourself. And I did a live stream and it said that somebody was there watching, and I was like, oh, say hello or whatever. They didn't say hello. They did not say hello. And I'm just there talking to myself, being like, talk to me. Say hi. Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret. So it was a lot. So I'm going to keep going. I just wanted you to know that like all of this inconsistency, there's just a lot going on in the world right now. And in a kind of general sense, check on the queer people in your lives, especially if you know trans people and drag performers and all of that kind of stuff, because we're getting it from all sides. Like, we're not in the good, like, Treasure Island media sort of way. Like, we're getting it from all sides lately. It's just not been good. There's a lot of shit that's going on, and it's just stressful. It's a lot. So this is my hobby. It's not how I pay the bills. This is not monetized, which is why I can happily say Republicans. And if that's enough to make you unsubscribe, I'm glad to see you go. And so definitely check on the people in your lives. Just know that I still love and appreciate you. I love all the support that you show, the videos and everything. I'm so glad that I got to do my first collab this last year. I'm hoping to do 2 more this year if I can. I'm really going to try to keep up that consistency, but I just wanted you to know that I'm not one of those people who's like, today maybe I want to be a YouTuber, tomorrow I want to do fucking macrame or whatever. Like, that's not what it is. Like, I really do love this channel, and doing makeup and drag has really been such an outlet for me, but there's just a lot going on. It's been a lot the last couple of years, and I don't have to tell you that, right? Like, ever since Miss Rona rolled into town in 2020 and just refuses to leave, it's been a lot for everybody. But I just wanted to kind of check in and be a little vulnerable at the gig and let you know that things are just wild, and I'm going to be fine. I'm going to survive. I'm very excited for my new location. There's some possibilities that I'm hoping to explore that could make it even more interesting. Look for potentially an office tour a little later this year, and I hope everybody really is just doing the best that they can in these challenging times. For all my queer and trans people that are out there, stay strong. We're going to get through this. Like, it's just one of those pendulum swings where right now the assholes are getting really loud and mouthy. We need to ride it out. I think that, one thing that's very different from the last time that a lot of these issues came up is that public opinion is actually on our side for this one. So it used to be that we were fighting for rights and recognition in a time where we didn't necessarily have public opinion. But now we're in a time where the majority of Americans are thinking decent human beings. And so while that's still challenging in the political space, fucking vote. It's challenging there, but it's in the larger world, we are still making progress. Sometimes it doesn't seem like that. It can feel very scary, but we are. So I'm not going to give you the whole spiel. All of my stuff is linked below. Subscribe, comment, all that good stuff. Algorithms, not a picky bitch, all that kind of stuff. I just want to say goodbye. I want to say I love all of you. I appreciate all the support that you've shown to my channel. And until I see you again, bye.